Hey everyone, welcome to another video on graphing logarithmic functions. Here we're going to have a little bit different one. We're going to have a translation and a reflection here. So when we start graphing this, we're going to graph the function f of x equals negative log base 2 of x minus 3, state the domain and range. So the first thing we're going to do is look for the domain. Okay, domain and range, easiest thing to state first. So logarithms have to be greater than 0. So what we're going to do is set the argument x minus 3. So let's go ahead and write our function again. And we're going to set that argument inside parentheses. We're going to set that greater than 0. So x minus 3 is going to be greater than 0. So that means x has to be greater than 3. So there's two things you found here. You found the domain of the function, so in interval notation it's 3 to infinity. But you also found the vertical asymptote. So the vertical asymptote here is x equals 3. Okay, so we shifted that over 3 units. The range is the same. It is actually just going to be all real numbers. It's not changing. Okay? So we have the domain and range of our function. To plot this function, it's good to know what's going on with this function. So we know that it's shift right 3, so shift right 3. Okay, and then it's going to reflect over x-axis. Okay, so that means you just take the opposite of your x value, or the y value here, excuse me. So when I plot this, I'm first actually going to plot the parent function of y equals log base 2 of x. Okay, so there's 5. So if you saw our previous video, you know that log base 2 of x comes from the exponential function 2 to the x. So I'm going to have 1, 0, 2, 1, and 4, 2. Okay, so here's our general graph of log base 2 of x. So now what we can do is we can look and say, all right, well, we know what's happening with the translation. It's going 3 units right, and then it's going to be reflected. So what we're going to do here is move every point 3 units first, and then take the opposite y value. So what's great about 1, 0, it's just going to move 1, 2, 3 places. The y value is 0, so the opposite of 0 is 0, right? So the first point we'll reflect is this one, 1 or 2, 1. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 units right, and then we're going to take the opposite of 1, which is negative 1, so it puts us right here. Our last point here, 4, 2, we're going to go 3 units right, 1, 2, 3 units right, and then that becomes negative 2. So that's how we account for that negative right here. So now it's like, well, where do we draw the graph? Well, don't forget about your vertical asymptote here. So we're going to go ahead and plot that, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we kind of have something to follow. So we're going to go ahead and plot this graph. And that is the graph of negative log base 2 of x minus 3. If you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and type them below. We'll see you next time.